Have you ever hidden something for so long that even the memory starts to feel like a lie? I used to believe I was like everyone else, normal, uneventful, forgettable. I never thought a day would come when I'd fear the sound of an envelope sliding under my door. But here I am, staring at a plain white envelope with no return address, no name, just my apartment number scrawled in shaky handwriting. I didn't want to touch it, but curiosity, or perhaps guilt, made my fingers tremble as I picked it up. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from recognition. That handwriting, no, it couldn't be. It looked too much like hers. I should have burned it right there. But instead, I opened it. There was no greeting, no dear Ria. Just one sentence written in black ink. You buried the truth, but I remember everything. My knees buckled. I sat on the floor, clutching the letter, shaking. It had been 10 years. 10 whole years since that night in the woods. 10 years since I said nothing. Since we all said nothing. And now, someone knew. Someone remembered. That night came back to me in flashes. Muffled screams, the smell of pine, a flashlight dropped in the mud, blood on someone's wrist, and the echo of our promise. We never talk about this again. Ever. But I was tired of running. Maybe, finally, I needed to tell the story. Maybe I needed to confess, not for forgiveness, but for the truth to exist outside my head, because I think, I think someone died that night. If you're still reading, let me ask you something. Have you ever kept a secret so deep it became part of who you are? Let me take you back to the beginning. To the summer when everything changed. To the people I loved. To the person I betrayed. And to the story I was too afraid to tell. The summer it all began was supposed to be the best summer of our lives. We had just graduated. 4 of us. Me, Anya, Karan, and Zoya. We were 18 and invincible, or so we thought. The world hadn't touched us yet, at least not the dark parts. That summer, we made a pact. A silly, reckless idea born from late night bonfires, too much soda, and stories of ghost towns and forgotten trails. We were determined to find something that no one else had seen, a place that belonged only to us. It started with Karan's map, folded, torn, and marked with red ink. He called it the place past the pines. It's an abandoned estate, he told us one evening. No one goes there. My uncle said it was cursed. Some accident years ago. People say they hear things in the trees. Zoya rolled her eyes, brushing her long hair behind her ear. You believe everything your uncle says. He's the same guy who thinks microwaves are mind control devices. Anya laughed. She always laughed when things got tense. That's how she kept us together. I say we go. One last adventure before college. And that was it. No second thoughts. No hesitation. We packed our bags and planned a weekend trip. Just us, the forest, and whatever waited for us beyond those whispering trees. I wish someone had stopped us. The estate sat behind thick pine woods, unreachable by car. We had to hike 2 miles off the trail, through dense underbrush and silence so heavy it made our voices sound wrong. Like we were disturbing something ancient. When we saw it, we stopped breathing. It was bigger than we expected. A stone mansion, half eaten by ivy and time. Its windows were broken, its doors chained shut. Nature had claimed it, but something about it felt alive. Karan grinned. Told you it was real. We spent hours exploring it, flashlights and laughter, dust and cracked mirrors. We found old journals, furniture covered in white sheets, even a room filled with children's toys untouched by the years. But that wasn't the part that stayed with me. What stayed with me was the basement. Zoya found it, beneath a broken rug. a trapdoor, half hidden under years of dirt. No way, she whispered. Should we open it? Anya hesitated. I don't like this. Neither did I. But Karan had already grabbed the edge and yanked. The air that rose from the basement was cold and smelled like rusted metal. We went down anyway. 4 flashlights, 4 shadows, one secret that would never let us go. Something happened in that basement. Something I still can't explain. But before I get there, you need to know this. We didn't all leave that estate the same way we entered it. And one of us didn't leave at all. There's a moment right before fear takes over, when your mind tries to convince you that everything is still okay. That's how I felt as we climbed down into the basement. Each step creaked under our weight. The staircase was narrow, the walls pressed in like a throat. The air was wrong, too still, too heavy. It smelled like metal and mold and something older, something rotting. Zoya's flashlight flickered. This is stupid, she muttered. Let's just take a photo and go back up. But Karan was already walking ahead, the beam from his light steady and sharp. Come on, he said. We didn't come this far to chicken out now. Anya's hand found mine. Her fingers were cold. When we reached the bottom, we saw the room. It wasn't what you'd expect. No torture chamber, no hidden treasure. Just a wide, empty space lined with old filing cabinets, rusted tools, and a broken mirror nailed to one wall. But there was something else. A door. Painted black with a tarnished brass handle. We should have stopped there. We should have turned around. But Karan, always the leader, always the one who had to prove something, pushed it open. It wasn't locked. Inside, we found a chair. Just a chair. Wooden. Scratched. Bolted to the center of the room. Chains hung from the arms, like something out of an old asylum. On the floor beneath it, faded dark stains. None of us spoke. Anya let out a shaky breath. What is this place? Karan walked up to the chair, running his hand over the armrest. Maybe this was used for some kind of therapy, he said, trying to sound casual. Shock treatment or... Look at the walls, I whispered. They were covered in writing, not paint, not ink, scratched into the walls, over and over again, the same phrase. It's still here, it never left. Zoya turned around. Nope, we're leaving. I don't care what this is. Anya nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. We've seen enough. But Karan, he didn't move. He just stood there, staring into the mirror nailed to the wall. Guys, he said quietly, do you see that? We turned to look. The mirror was old, fogged with age. But when I looked into it, really looked, I saw something I couldn't explain. 4 of us were reflected. But there was a 5th shape behind us. Tall, still, watching. I blinked. Gone. We didn't talk much as we climbed back up. The silence had changed. It wasn't peaceful anymore. It was thick with unspoken thoughts and a growing sense of dread. That night, as we camped near the edge of the woods, none of us mentioned what we saw. Not the mirror, not the chair, not the writing. We told jokes instead, played music from Karan's phone, tried to pretend everything was fine. But something followed us back from that house, and one of us was already starting to come undone. The morning after we returned from the estate, the world felt quieter, not peaceful, hollow, as if some vital sound had been sucked out of the air. I noticed it first in Karan. He wasn't joking around anymore, no smug grin, no teasing. He was quiet, too quiet. And his eyes, they looked wrong. Like he hadn't slept, or maybe had seen something he didn't know how to unsee. We met at Anya's house later that afternoon, all 4 of us. pretending like nothing had changed. But it had. Zoya tried to keep things light. So, that house wins the award for creepiest basement ever, she said, stirring her iced tea. Seriously, that mirror? Total horror movie stuff. I glanced at Karan. He didn't respond, just stared at his glass, unmoving. Karan? Anya asked, touching his arm. You okay? He blinked, slow and distant, then said something that made my skin crawl. There was someone in the chair. We froze. What? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Down there? When I touched it, he said, barely above a whisper. Just for a second, I swear, I saw someone sitting in it, eyes open, watching me. Zoya dropped her spoon. Okay, stop. No more ghost talk. We're done with that place. But Karan wasn't finished. He said something in my head. Anya's eyes widened. He? Karan nodded slowly. He said, Thank you for letting me out. We didn't know what to say after that. Zoya left first, then Anya. I stayed behind, not because I wanted to, because something told me I needed to. Karan looked broken and scared. I'd never seen him scared. Maybe you imagined it, I said gently. It was dark. You were tired. It happens. He didn't answer. But as I stood up to leave, he said one last thing. It's not in the house anymore. I turned to him. What? It followed me home. That night, I had a dream. I was back in the basement, alone. The walls were pulsing, alive. The chair was empty at first, but then it wasn't. A figure sat there, pale skin, hollow eyes, lips sewn shut. It looked at me, then raised one hand and pointed to the mirror. I turned to look, and in the mirror, I saw myself. But I wasn't alone in the reflection. Something stood behind me, breathing slowly, hungrily. I woke up screaming. The next morning, I checked my phone. A message from Karan. Just one line. Don't come looking for me. And then he disappeared. For the next 2 days, Karan didn't answer any calls. Not mine, not Anya's, not even Zoya's. And she was the only one who could ever talk sense into him. At first, we thought he was just being dramatic. Karan had a flair for the dramatic. He probably needed space, we told ourselves. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe he was scared. But by the third day, something felt wrong. Really wrong. We went to his house. His mom opened the door with a tired smile that quickly faded when she saw our faces. He's not home, she said. Didn't he stay at your place last night? We looked at each other. No, I said carefully. We haven't seen him in 3 days. The panic on her face spread like a wildfire. That night, the police were called. An official missing person report was filed. Officers asked us questions. Where we'd last seen him, who he'd spoken to, whether he seemed depressed. We didn't mention the estate. We didn't mention the chair. We didn't mention the mirror. He just seemed distant, I told the officer. Not himself. Which wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. The search lasted a week. His phone pinged near a local park, then went dark. His bike was found locked by the old train tracks. His room untouched, except for one thing. A note taped to his mirror. 4 words written in shaky handwriting. It's inside me now. We should have run then, but curiosity is dangerous. And guilt? Even more so. Zoya started losing sleep. Anya stopped coming to school. And me? I couldn't stop seeing things out of the corner of my eye. A figure in reflections that disappeared when I turned. Whispers in empty rooms. My own name, spoken like a breath behind my ear. Something was bleeding out from the past. The secret we thought we buried? It was digging its way back up. One evening, Anya came to my house, pale and trembling. I found something, she said, in one of the photos from that day. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. It was a photo of the four of us, taken just before we entered the estate. Smiling, carefree. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until you looked closer. Until you zoomed in. Behind us, between the trees, barely visible in the shadows. A fifth face, not one of ours, something pale and grinning. That photo changed everything. We stared at the screen in silence. The fifth face, though blurred and hidden in shadow, was unmistakably wrong. Its features were all too sharp, or not sharp enough, like a half-finished sketch. Eyes like hollow pits. And that grin, it wasn't a smile, it was a warning. Zoya was the first to speak. That thing, it was there before we even went inside. Anya nodded, her voice trembling. What if it led us there? We knew we couldn't ignore this anymore. Karan was gone. Something had followed us, and now it was spreading. We had to go back. Not to the house, not yet. We needed answers. Anya had a plan. Her aunt worked in the local archives office. That weekend, the three of us slipped in through the back entrance under the pretense of a school project. We weren't sure what we were looking for, just that we'd know when we found it. Hours passed, dust-covered newspapers, land records, abandoned property reports. Then, Zoya found it. A yellowed newspaper dated June 4th, 1971. The headline read, Local Psychiatric Facility Closes After Series of Unexplained Deaths. It took a moment to click. The photo attached showed the same estate, the same crooked windows. The article was vague, full of official language that said nothing directly. Staffing issues, unstable patients, hazardous conditions. But the comments were clearer. Handwritten notes in the margin by a local reporter. Patient number 13. Silence treatments. Chair installed for containment. Sounds more like restraint. One survivor. Dr. Samuel Nair. Found locked in the basement, muttering about mirrors and voids. Institutionalized. The name sent a chill down my spine. Mirrors. We kept reading. The last line of the article was what made my blood run cold. The facility is to be condemned. No further entry is permitted. It is no longer safe to contain what is inside. We left in silence. That night, Zoya called me in tears. I saw him, she whispered. In my mirror. Who? Karan, she sobbed. But it wasn't him. His face. It was wrong. Twisted. Like the thing from the photo. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell her it was a dream, a hallucination. But I'd seen it too, behind me, in shop windows, in puddles, in the reflection of my own eyes. It was growing bolder. Whatever we'd disturbed in that house, it wasn't done with us. The next morning, I found an envelope outside my door. No name, no address. Inside, a single photograph, black and white. A child, sitting in the chair from the basement, face obscured, but on the back, written in red ink, were the words, He spoke through me once. He will do it again. The photograph haunted me all night. A child in that ancient chair, his face scratched out as if the image itself had been defiled. And that note? He spoke through me once. He will do it again. Who wrote it and why now? I barely slept. By morning, I knew we had no choice. We had to find Dr. Samuel Nair, the only known survivor of the facility. Zoya and Anya were hesitant, But they agreed. Fear had started to poison everything: our sleep, our reflections, even our sense of time. We needed answers. We spent a full day tracking leads. Dr. Nair had been institutionalized after the facility shut down in 1971. No one had heard from him in decades. But Anya, determined as ever, found something. A quiet care home 2 towns over. Not listed publicly, but she had a friend whose mother worked there. They keep the most extreme patients, her friend had whispered, the ones no one else can handle. That was where we found him. We arrived at Kothari Mental Wellness Center late in the afternoon. The building looked harmless, more like a rundown hotel than a psychiatric institution. We waited in the visitor room, and then a nurse brought him in. Dr. Samuel Nair. Now an old man, thin and slow, pushed in a wheelchair. His eyes were clouded, but sharp, like he saw through us, not just at us. He didn't speak, not until we showed him the photograph. The change was instant. His hands trembled. His mouth twitched. He looked at us, really looked, and then, with a voice dry as leaves, he whispered, "You brought him back." Zoya leaned forward. Who? Who did we bring back? He chuckled, a sound like gravel sliding down a slope. We called him the Echo. That's all he was at first. A voice that mimicked, a whisperer. Anya asked, "A ghost?" "No," he said. "Worse. A memory so loud it wanted a body." We listened in stunned silence as he went on. He told us the estate was never just a mental facility. It had been a containment site. One of several built during the post-independence era to deal with what authorities called anomalous phenomena. The chair in the basement? It wasn't for patients. It was a trap. A prison for a being that fed on trauma, guilt, and most of all, attention. He can't live unless someone remembers him, Dr. Nair said, leaning closer. But when he's remembered, he begins to speak again. Through voices, through dreams, through mirrors. He paused. You looked into it, didn't you? The mirror? We nodded. His face fell. Then it's already too late. As the nurse wheeled him back, he muttered one last thing. Soft, almost a prayer. You should have let him die in silence. That night, Zoya screamed herself awake. She said Karan was outside her window, scraping his nails down the glass, grinning. Anya's reflection began to move slightly out of sync with her. And me? I started writing things in my sleep. I'd wake up to pages and pages of scrawled words in my own handwriting. He is not forgotten. He is not forgotten. He is not forgotten. It felt like he was writing through me. And that's when we realized the truth. The echo wasn't just in that house. He was in us now, living through our fear, feeding off our guilt, waiting for the moment he could step through completely. We tried to ignore it. We tried to act normal. But the echo didn't care for our denial. Because denial was just another kind of attention. And attention? That's what he craved most. That week was the worst of our lives. Zoya's cat vanished. Anya fainted during class, and when she came to, she didn't remember her own name for an hour. As for me, I caught myself talking to my reflection. Not just looking. Talking. Sometimes I'd say something, and it would answer before I spoke. Like the echo was getting faster, stronger, more real. We met again in secret, at the library basement, cold, quiet, and away from mirrors. Zoya slammed down a folder filled with everything she could dig up. He's a story, she said. That's what Dr. Nair meant. He doesn't want revenge. He wants an audience. Anya leaned forward. A story? Zoya nodded. Think about it. Everything that's happened, it's like he's feeding on narrative, drama, attention. We entered the house, we disturbed the silence, and now we're the main characters in his tale. I felt sick. So what? We stopped talking about it? Stopped telling the story? But it was too late for that. Even thinking about him was giving him power. The echo wasn't haunting a house anymore. He was haunting our minds. Anya had an idea. Dangerous, desperate. What if we finished the story? We stared. You said he wants a story, right? She continued. So we give him one. But we end it. On our terms. Zoya frowned. You mean write an ending? Anya nodded. Yes. We contain him in narrative, like they tried to do before, with the chair, the silence, the erasure. But this time, we trap him inside a finished story. Me? I was too exhausted to argue. And maybe part of me believed it. So that night, we met at my place. All phones off, all mirrors covered. A single candle lit the room. And we began to write. The story started with the house, then the chair, then Karan, then the whispers, then the dreams, then the photograph, then Dr. Nair. Piece by piece, we crafted the events exactly as they happened. Except this time, we wrote an ending. One where we survived, one where he didn't. Anya wrote the final line. And with no one left to remember, the echo faded into silence, forever unheard. The moment the ink dried, the candle blew out on its own, and the house fell silent. No footsteps, no whispers, no grinning figures in glass. It was like the air itself exhaled. For a week, nothing happened. We dared to hope. We dared to sleep again. Then, Karan's phone was found by a hiker near a ravine miles from anywhere. The battery was dead. But when police turned it on, there was one file, a voice memo, time-stamped the day he vanished. We were allowed to hear it once, and I'll never forget what we heard. I know how this ends. He told me himself. It's not your story anymore. Karan's voice haunted us. It's not your story anymore. Those 6 words unraveled everything we thought we'd done. We thought we'd trapped him, contained him, ended him. But now we realize something much worse. He let us finish the story because he wanted a new one. Anya was the first to crack. She began rewriting the ending every night, trying to fix it, trying to make it stronger. Like if she just found the right words, it would all be okay. Zoya refused to say the echo's name. She wouldn't speak about him, wouldn't write about him, wouldn't even hear the word story. And me? I began finding pages I didn't write in my notebooks. New paragraphs, new characters. One of them looked a lot like me. Another sounded like you. That's when it hit me. The echo had adapted. He wasn't confined to our memory now, or even our voices. He was in the telling itself. Each time we repeated the events, each time we shared what had happened, he moved a little further, into the words, into the thoughts, into the minds of those who heard the tale. And you, reading this now? You're part of it. The moment your eyes passed over the first line, the story I was too afraid to tell, you opened the door, just like we did. Because the echo doesn't want to haunt houses anymore. He wants to live in memory, in retellings, in attention. He's not a ghost. He's a virus made of language. That voice recording Karan left behind, it ended with one final sentence. Glitched, distorted. But we played it over and over until we could hear the words, he doesn't need a place to stay, just a story to hide in. We didn't trap the echo in the ending. We gave him something far worse, a beginning. I tried to warn people. I deleted the files, burned the notebooks. I stopped talking about it. But it didn't work because someone always remembers. Someone always says, "Tell me the story again." And the moment they do, he listens. He waits. He writes himself in. So if you've read this far, be honest. Have you started seeing things in mirrors? Hearing your name in empty rooms? Dreaming of places you've never been? If not yet, you will. Because now you know the story. And more importantly, the story knows you. I was the last one left. Anya stopped speaking altogether. Zoya disappeared one night, vanished from her locked room. No signs of struggle. Just one thing left behind on her bed. A page. Blank, except for a single line. You can't erase what wants to be remembered. I tried everything. Therapy, silence, rituals, isolation. But the echo wasn't outside anymore. He was inside. Inside me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw new paragraphs. Every time I opened my mouth, I nearly spoke his words. My memories weren't mine anymore. They were drafts, editable, re-readable, haunted. There was only one thing left to do. I booked a room at a remote retreat. No internet, no phone, no paper, no pens. I told myself I would end it the only way stories truly die, by not telling them. If no one remembers, if no one writes, if no one reads, then maybe, just maybe, he would fade. But he was waiting for that. Because silence is still attention. Even hiding from him was a way of thinking about him. And when you're thinking about him, you're feeding him. One night, I woke up with blood on my palms. I had scratched something into the wood of the cabin wall, a sentence. But it wasn't mine. The final chapter is not yours to write. And that's when I understood. He didn't want to be forgotten. He didn't want to be contained. He wanted immortality. And the only way to achieve that was to live on in everyone who ever heard his story. I write this now as my final act, not to warn you, not to beg you, not to ask for help. I write this to end it. If you're reading this, I need you to do one thing. Forget me. Forget Zoya. Forget Anya. Forget the chair. Forget the house. Forget Karan. Forget the mirror. Forget the echo. Don't say his name. Don't think about him. Don't tell anyone what you read. Because the moment you do, the story continues. And he moves closer. Please. Close this. Let the silence win. Let this be the last line. And the story was never told again. If this story gave you chills, or made you think twice before looking into a mirror, then imagine how powerful stories can be for your mind and your English. On this channel, I bring you mystery, motivation, and mastery of English, all in one place. Every story is more than just entertainment. It's a lesson in language, a boost to your confidence, and a step closer to fluency. So if you're ready to learn English in a way that's thrilling, emotional, and unforgettable, subscribe now to Epic English Stories, hit the bell, and become part of a growing community where English isn't just learned, it's experienced. Until the next story, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep listening.